Okay. Hey, what's up, guys? Hello. Welcome. Let me make sure my audio is working correctly. I think we are good to go. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Let me see. Okay. Okay. I think I'm good. I've checked everything here. Hello, guys. Hello. All right. Okay. So before we begin, let's go over some pretty interesting news. So we have some war news going on. If you guys haven't heard, there's been a complete mustering of aircraft and ship towards the Middle East, and it's possible evidence that there could be an actual active war with Iran, and the U.S. apparently is coordinating with Israel to I guess annihilate Iran at this point, and apparently from what I've read so far is that here's what we are looking at here. So as it says here, Axios reports that there is evidence that the U.S. war with Iran is imminent, and Israel is preparing for a scenario of war within days, which is expected to include weeks-long full-fledged war, unlike the Venezuela operation. And again, I've also read from other sources that the Venezuela operation was just almost like a quick run as to how they could be well, it was kind of like a quote-unquote trial run for future operations, and apparently this was almost like a training operation for the government here, and and it seems like they're looking to use the same tactics that they used for that Venezuela operation, meaning they're trying to be very, very quick with the hits and try to, bombard the country to, I don't know, submit is what I'm reading. And so here it is. The second point here says joint US-Israel campaign that is much broader in scope than 12-day war in June. The US Armada now consists of 2 aircraft carriers. That's insane, by the way. 12 warships, hundreds of fighter jets, and multiple air defense systems. More than 150 US military cargo flights have moved weapon systems and ammunition to the Middle East, and another 50 fighter jets in 24 hours, including F-35s, F-22s, and F-16s. Okay, and obviously oil is going crazy due to this, obviously. And oil prices should be jumping over the weekend, and that means the prices at the gas pumps are going to be a lot higher than what it is now, and it has been surging up higher the past week and a half. So this is kind of concerning to see, since we if there's another war in the Middle East, that's going to combine even more tensions with the superpowers as well, especially with I believe Russia is also involved as well. So that's interesting. And I'm going to be interested as to how the US, Ukraine, and Russia are going to try to quote-unquote create a peace deal as this Middle East conflict is potentially brewing. So yeah, we'll have to see about that. And what do you call it? There is also a lot of worry about let's see, I think it's auto loans. Okay, so people are underwater because their payment to the cars is a lot higher, right? The total amount of payments that they have to make in total is a lot higher than the actual worth of their car, right? So they're underwater, and also I think the subprime delinquency rates are % almost, right? And I think the subprime loans make up about, what was it? I think it was from my memory here. Just remember, I think it's about 14 or 15% of all auto loans, right? I'm pretty sure I'm correct. The subprime loans make up about 14 or 15% of all auto loans. Yeah, and so the delinquency rates are at almost 7% so far too. So that is pretty. It's not looking pretty. Okay, and on top of that, okay, we're also seeing a lot of market hedging activity through the options chain, right? And I believe today was VIX expiration as well too. So all this geopolitical risk that is occurring right now with the US and Israel and the fact that they're amalgamating forces in the Middle East as we speak, right? It's going to be interesting. And on top of all of this, okay, we have the President of the United States delivering remarks on the economy at 4 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow, which I know is going to be filled with a lot of lies, right? So I don't even know what to say about this, but I just know that this is probably going to be a pretty heavy hit on the overall markets as well after hours. But yeah, this is going to be interesting because, yeah, I mean, if you guys know his tactics and the way he speaks, right, it's going to be a bunch of lies. So that's interesting. Okay, and then last but not least, all right, so there's a lot of negative news here about the economy, about what the government's about to go into with potentially a war with another country, starting another conflict in the Middle East. But this right here, okay, Blue Owl permanently halts redemptions at fund aimed at retail investors. Okay, it halts redemptions at private credit fund aimed at retail investors. Right, that's not good. I mean, look at all these people. Look at this, right? So, you know, all of this, I think it's heading into a convergence point where the markets will have to correct in a huge way for us to, at the very least, reset a lot of valuations. Yes, I already know a lot of people are saying, hey, wait a second, we've seen a complete slaughter of growth and tech stocks in the past couple of months, right? In the past almost 3 months at this point, especially software stocks. But we're seeing a lot of bloated valuations across some names that haven't really gone down and has weathered this storm so far really well. But there's still a lot of room for them to move to the downside like their peers have done. And specifically, okay, we're now heading into the main subject of tonight, which is parabolic shorts on memory chip stocks. So just the overall parabolic moves that have occurred in the overall memory space, or any companies that are involved in the memory space, or even just the fact that maybe a company has infrastructure that builds memory, right? So for example, that's Lumentum Holdings, ticker symbol LITE. So this one I mentioned last week, which I failed to short last week. And I had to get back in again. And fortunately, I was able to cover those starting this week, yesterday. But I went short again using equity this time. So the second time was using option contracts, which I got out in the morning as quickly as possible due to the fact that we're continuously seeing really good bids coming into memory stocks, which again, it's kind of crazy to do that up here. And at some point, based on the options activity across these memory chip stocks like MU, okay, or even SNDK, right, or even AMAT, right, AMAT, or Applied Materials, right. All of these stocks are seeing heavy out the money call activity, or even put sales as well, all the up here, right? Which to me, that kind of skew to the upside is cautionary. All right, I would say you guys have to be looking out for that, especially when we've run so far to the upside, to the stratosphere at this point, since Q4 of last year, right? So this began in Q4, or even late Q3 in September. So, you know, when it comes to these memory chip stocks, or even just stocks that are involved in the memory space, you guys should understand why I'm trying to be looking out for parabolic shorts, right? And I've even went through this in my previous live stream considering memory stocks, and well, they've continued to be resilient against all odds, right? As the markets have continued to move sideways. And so what will happen to these memory stocks? That, you know, obviously people have used them as some sort of a defensive position since they've been piling into these names, since these are still, well, making all-time highs like it did today with LITE, right? Which is insane. In these overbought and extremely overbought conditions, not just overbought. Okay, let me correct myself there, right? So To me, if all these people who have leveraged positions into these really parabolic names that have just gone straight up since September or early October of last year, what's going to happen if the markets decide to collapse, right? What if it decides to correct? And well, all these leveraged positions are going to be pushed out and people will have to panic sell immediately, right? It's going to be a wave after wave of selling. So that's what I'm trying to find an opportunity in, right? Because we try to be opportunistic swing traders, especially when the markets are moving sideways like this and we're seeing individual sector rotations and just individual internal rotations, as we've talked about before, right? Because again, hopefully you guys understand what that means. I've explained it a couple months ago, maybe just last year, I think mid last year, about internal rotations that occur within large sectors, right? For example, the tech sector, right, has two. Well, I would say the tech sector is largely bifurcated into two industries, right? The semiconductor industry and the software industry. But then again, as I've said, that there's always internal rotations between those two. Due to the AI revolution, though, we're now seeing new industries pop up within the overall tech sector, right? And we'll talk more about that as the year goes on. But the general idea is that we've been seeing this internal rotation, this hard pivot towards kind of almost again like a defensive action here, where we're seeing tech investors and traders just pile into semiconductors only while selling their long-term and just overall bullish positions on anything related to software, right? So it's the hardware that they're looking for safety in the tech sector, and leaving the growth of the software industry to dust, right? So that's what's been happening. All right, so that's a little recap. And so I think the overall opportunity here for us right now is to try to be as level-headed as possible, especially if you're looking to short these parabolic names like I am right now, because again, I still have my eyes on tickers like MU and SNDK, as I've mentioned in the live stream from I think last week. I'm pretty sure it was last week. Let me see. I want to maybe even provide you guys the yeah, it was last week. Yeah, 6 days ago. Oh no, it was 2 weeks ago. It was 13 days ago. Yeah. So it's the live stream that's titled "Memory Chips Are in a Bubble," and again, it is in a bubble. Now, let me show you guys the reason why. There's someone who actually on Twitter, I actually saw this post today, and I posted it in my Discord, who summarized it pretty well of what I've explained before too. And also, this kind of it's basically the same thing that's been happening across the AI industry. If you guys don't know about that circle of money rotation that's been happening, if you don't know what I'm talking about, just Google it. I mean, everyone knows about it by now. If you don't, again, you guys should take a look at that. But let me show you guys this. Okay. So this guy pretty much explained it pretty well, right? So here's what he said. The reason why RAM has become 4 times more expensive is that, again, RAM is the memory, right? Memory chip, is that a huge amount of RAM that has not yet been produced was purchased with non-existent money to be installed in GPUs that also have not yet been produced in order to place them in data centers that have not yet been built, powered by infrastructure that may never appear, to satisfy demands that does not actually exist, and to obtain profit that is mathematically impossible. So this is kind of it's almost a very funny summary of what Michael Burry with his new Substack that he's created. I believe it's Substack, but this is essentially the kind of a quick summary as to what he was saying as well. Obviously, there's different parts to this AI money circle jerk that's going on, but this is a pretty good specific summary as to what's happening in the memory space of semiconductors. Okay, so again, this guy explained it pretty well, right? In a very funny way too. So that's the reason why I am saying that memory chips are in a bubble, right? And anything that's considered a contributor to this memory shortage. And so I really want to be shorting this when the market soon realizes this. And again, I believe the market is realizing this, but we're not actually seeing the market pricing in that just yet, all because of the fact, again, we have to harken back to and circle back to that initial point that I made a couple minutes ago, and also in that previous live stream 2 weeks ago. People are using semiconductors as a way to quote unquote have this defensive growth position. I know it's a very antithetical way to it's an antonym at that point, right? But it's like a defensive position that they're taking against maybe the software longs that they may still have in their portfolios, or they're just trying to pivot their cash that they've raised from selling software positions and putting it into semiconductors, specifically in the memory industry, right? So that is kind of what I truly believe is what's holding up all of these memory chip stocks, right? And again, these have all gone parabolic. Oops, not Macy's, but even though Macy's does look great. So, you know, chips, you know, these stocks like Micron, right? I mean, this looks ready to blast up even higher, which is insane, right? And the call skew on this one has been insane. Even the put sales. Can you guys believe that there's put sales on Micron here at all-time highs? I mean, that's insane, right? I mean, that's insane to think about, but there is. There are actually multiple put sales and multiple call option buys to the upside, right? I mean, people are aiming for $500 per share on Micron. And so I think this is a huge bubble that is just waiting to be popped, right? And I know it's easy for me to say it, but again, this entire money circle that's been going on, the circle of money that's just been rotating over and over, chasing these invisible, you know, profits, invisible data centers, invisible demand. Yes, there's actual demand, obviously, but it feels like at this point, you can even feel it in the air, right? Amongst investors, amongst, you know, even just in the stock market itself. Something is off here, right? When we're seeing more money coming into these individual memory chip stocks compared to, you know, actual valuable companies that make real earnings, right? And the fact that we're seeing this type of demand off of just hope and non-existent data, it's crazy, right? So again, I am fully biased to the downside for these parabolic stocks that have gone absolutely topside, right, to the stratosphere for all of the above reasons that I've just stated, right? And so again, what is the overall bias that I have to the downside, right? I'm expecting these stocks to have a big move to the downside, especially if we have this, or actually not even just if, but when we have this market correction. Because again, these are all still considered stocks that are within the tech sector, right? These are growth stocks. And what tends to be sold first during a market correction, guys? Tech stocks, right? These are the leaders, right? Leaders get sold off first during a market correction. And like I've said before, wave after wave of sell orders will come in, especially into these stocks, especially when there are heavily leveraged positions that people have taken on these very quote-unquote defensive tech stocks. Again, that sounds very funny to say, but that's what we've been seeing. We've been seeing an extraordinary amount of bids coming in compared to the ask, right? And that's what's been holding up these stocks at a crazy overbought conditions and extreme conditions, right? I mean, just take a look at the RSI for SNDK. It's still in the 80s, right? It just barely gone back down from the 90s, right? From the, I think it was at like 91 at some point at these highs. Okay, and even for LITE, all right, there's a reason why I've also chosen this for this week's parabolic short. Okay, is that LITE has been, I mean, I whenever I see kind of this triple header RSI here that is in the extremely overbought conditions, this spells trouble for the immediate future. All right, yes, I could be wrong for the next couple of weeks. All right, but eventually, what goes up has to come back down, right? As cliche as that may sound, all right? And again, this is a nice triple top that's forming here on the RSI. Yes, I know I can't do technical analysis on lagging indicators, but I've seen this combo before where we see prices going parabolic, making higher highs and higher lows. Literally, all right, this is what parabolic means, guys. All right, let me actually show you guys. Right, this is what's happening. Right, there's a huge curvature to the upside, and we're seeing this with LITE, right, and MU and SNDK and AMAT, right? All these memory chip stocks are tickers that are involved in the memory industry, right? So whenever we see this type of action and the RSI just showing this type of action as well specifically, all right, we have to reset, right? We have to see a huge pop where we see that leverage positions being sold one after another and this huge sweep of liquidity, right? As people get pushed down, as people get completely wiped out in their long positions, right? Thinking that this is kind of the quote-unquote defensive position that they could be in, right? So once that even just that sentiment bubble of this potentially being a defensive position, we're going to be seeing even more selling coming in as people who have been in this ticker, for example, for months, let's say from mid last year, are going to also look to sell because the momentum is dying, right? So these are the huge winners that have been sitting in this position for a long time. They're also going to sell, which will add on even more selling pressure and more selling volume, right? So this will add more momentum to the downside, which will eventually, again, once the selling is done, people will realize that, hey, this was a bubble, right? This is definitely a bubble, and this is a very specific section of the market that has been experiencing this bubble, and eventually we'll have to see this quote-unquote RAM shortage die down, and the fact that this RAM shortage was most likely a bubble at that point. Okay, so again, I may have called it early 2 weeks ago, but then again, prices kind of been staying at these highs, right? Other than LITE that has made a new all-time high, right? So MU has been staying the same about the last 2 weeks. SNDK as well. All right, so these two tickers were the ones that I was looking at 2 weeks ago. So again, it's been pretty same, but again, MU and SNDK, man oh man, these are still looking like as if they're geared to go up higher. I mean, it's insane, right? So again, hopefully this week or next week, whatever weeks that we have left before this bubble pops, we are sucking in more buyers to provide even more exit liquidity, because if there's more exit liquidity, that means there'll be a faster sell-off with shares here, and we'll be seeing even more eyes being open to the fact that yes, indeed, this is pretty much a large bubble that has formed in the specific memory semiconductor industry. Does that make sense? Right, and also on top of that, don't forget about all the news that I just went over before the stream began. Right, I mean, this is absolutely insane. Okay, so again, there are opportunities everywhere right now, and I think the high risk, high rewarding positions that can be your next huge winner are going to be in these specific tickers, all right? SNDK, MU, LITE, AMAT, right? All of these tickers that are involved in the memory industry. Okay, and again, don't forget what I've talked about there and what this tweet. And again, this is a very nice summary of what I've provided before. Other than this very funny looking Jerome Powell GIF, right? So again, this is a very good summary, right? And I've been saying this, I've also stated that last week and the week before that, right? 2 weeks ago on that stream. So with that being said, okay, I've gone short using shares on LITE yesterday, and I've added more at the $600 level, right? Well, it's not even a level at this point, it's just a whole number. Well, I guess on the daily time frame it is considered a level, but I'm also just watching out for the fact that yes, this is looking like it could also head to the upside, just like with every other of these memory chip stocks, which is frustrating. And again, the market tends to frustrate you the most before it decides to go in your favor, especially with parabolic shorts. But I've added more at the $600 whole number level. We'll see how this resolves by the end of the week or by next week or by the end of the month, who knows. But then again, the path of least resistance right now at this point in time, with all the three tickers that I've shown you guys and also that I've talked about the most. So again, LITE, MU, and SNDK, all of them have all three of them respectively well, actually together, the path of least resistance for all three of them is to the downside, not to the upside. All right, even if we're seeing a surge in demand, surge in momentum, surge in call activity, the call skew is absolutely insane for all three of them. Even the put sell activity is absolutely insane for all three of them. The path of least resistance is still to the downside at this point in time. Okay, and hey, maybe I can be proved wrong again by the end of this month, but I truly believe that there is some really good high risk, high rewarding opportunities here, and I really want, well, if you guys haven't noticed, for the past 2 weeks, I've really been, for the past month, actually, to be honest, I've been really just trying to tell you guys and keeping note of the absolute insanity that we've been seeing with these memory chip stocks. Okay? So for LITE, I really hope that you guys can take a look at this one. This is absolutely insane. The RSI is showing a typical triple top here that eventually leads into a huge correctional move to the downside, giving us a very nice move for a parabolic short. And again, I think if we lose 500, I think LITE has a very good opportunity to come back down to these levels that we see here, right? 320, 0.50, 364, 402. But if we do see a bubble pop, we should be completely pushing below all of these three levels and coming back down. And eventually, I truly believe that we'll be seeing some sort of a peak forming around this area, right? So what I mean by that is when we have, you know, these so-called mountain peaks, we tend to come back down pretty rapidly like this, right? So, okay, so this is what we like to call mountain peaks, right? So this is what I'm looking for on all three of those three tickers that I've just mentioned tonight and the past almost 3 weeks, right? So MU, SNDK, and now LITE. Okay, and again, you guys can just read this. I put this in the CFO Swinger Watch Report in this week's short trading week's CFO Swinger Watch Report in the list. And for any of the readers that are watching this stream now or on the replay, make sure you guys go back to the report this week. I put in some very good applicable information in the market summary as well, so read that. But most importantly, take a look at the ideas that I've given you guys in the list as well. Okay, so again, huge opportunity here, high risk, highly rewarding potential parabolic shorts that are building up, and I really want these mountain peaks to resolve to the downside, because again, the path of least resistance for all three of those three tickers are what? To the downside, not to the upside. All right, and again, this even if you're seeing extreme call skew, that's when you have to be cautious, especially in these technical conditions. All right, combining all these technical indicators, technical signals, all of them are pointing for a potential bubble burst. Okay, so yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it, guys. I really want to make light of this. I think, again, if you combine the streams that I've done on memory chip stocks and just the overall parabolic runs that they've all had, if you just watch my previous 2 streams on them, right? Take a look at the one from last week and the 2 weeks before that, or 2 weeks before, or 2 weeks from now. Oh no, 2 weeks before. Excuse me, guys. You guys should be able to kind of get a nice conclusive perspective as to what we should be looking for and what we should be looking out for specifically on all of these memory chip stocks. Okay, so again, there are parabolic shorts everywhere, as this live stream says, right? And again, the science of parabolic shorts is very, very easy, right? We're looking for these mountain peak tops to form, and guess what? All of them are forming these mountain peak tops. Right? Yes, I know in the intermediate term it looks like MU is making a flag, and hey, if it decides to go up higher, I'll be my guess, right? Because there's going to be another an opportunity to short this one again, right? So I'm expecting all these mountain peaks to top out, right? And again, there is a lot of geopolitical risk that is occurring right now as we're speaking, right, in the Middle East. And if there is an actual war, that's going to heighten global geopolitical tensions even more, right? So again, this is what I want to see. I want to see all these mountain peaks occurring. And it's as simple as this, right? This is the simple science of parabolic shorts. Okay? So with that, that is it. If you guys thought that there's anything complicated about parabolic shorts, no, there isn't. The only thing complicated about parabolic shorts is the waiting game, and the fact that you could be in the red for a long time before you see any type of green or even just break-even moments in those short positions. But that's the beauty of parabolic shorts, because once the selling occurs, the initial selling occurs, the wave of selling quickens very, very quick, right? And for anyone who has experienced the crashes like I did, that I've experienced since 2018, if you guys remember, from that transition period from 2018 to 2019, there's a huge crash for the holidays, right? As you headed into Christmas and even post Christmas as well, right? There are extreme moves to the downside that just seemed like it wouldn't stop, right? So again, these are bubble-like moves, right? I mean, this is absolutely insane. They have to resolve to the downside, right? Things can't just go up straight up like this, right? And I'm literally telling you guys, these are going straight up. You can see it on the chart. These are moving straight up, right? It's not even like, oh, we're moving sideways for about a couple months. These have gone straight up for the last couple of months. All right, I've made that clear as day. So please, if you guys are doubting if you guys are doubting my overall bias to the downside for memory chip stocks, well, try to do the observational technical analysis first before you come at me. Okay? All right? The evidence is here. All right? And I truly believe that all these three stocks that I've mentioned for the past almost three weeks at this point are forming these mountain peak tops. Okay, and what happens after the mountain peak tops? Well, they tend to be these big ass mudslides or just avalanches to the downside. Okay, if I want to be a bit more well, referring to the current climate, right, winter. So yeah, these will eventually turn into avalanches, right? Yes, we can have short-term corrections, and we can even just take opportunity of that, right? But eventually, in the longer-term perspective, these will come back down. Trust me. Okay, I've seen this happening many times in my over 8+ years of being in the stock market. All right, I've also seen a crazy amount of crashes in the crypto market, which I've been in the crypto markets for actually over 9 years now. Right, so if you guys didn't know, I initially got involved in the overall markets through the crypto market. Okay, back in 2017, early 2017 actually, or no, I was privy to the crypto markets in late 2016, and I got actively involved in 2017. Okay, all right, well, yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the science of parabolic shorts, and the fact that if the overall markets decide to play in as a factor here, well, again, the reason why I'm bringing up the markets is that, well, I've given you guys all the recent updated news on the geopolitical tensions that are rising around the globe, that the US and Israel is currently causing, and just the overall fact that we have a lot of overhead and macro risks that are currently building up tension in the overall equity markets. And so if they become a factor, maybe they are the reason why these memory chip stocks decide to pop, well, I'm all for it. I'm all for it, all right? And the science of parabolic shorts will be well underway. Okay? All right, well, that's it for tonight, guys. If you guys enjoyed this very, very, hopefully informative stream, and most importantly, applicable, okay, make sure you guys smash that like button down below. But at the same time, if you guys are watching the replay, if you guys like the stream, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel here for Charts Focus 1. We are currently on the journey to 700 subscribers by the end of this year. Hopefully, maybe even more than that. Because we have been, to be honestly speaking, to be frank, guys, we have been growing pretty rapidly in this channel. We have, let's see, we have 619 subscribers already, right? I mean, we are growing pretty quickly here. So hopefully, again, if you guys enjoyed this stream, make sure you guys hit that like button down below and the subscribe button as well. All right, have a great rest of your night, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Good luck tomorrow.